Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by critiquing current players. I'm one of your three co-hosts, Derek Kubicek, and today we are going to be talking about Episode 3 of Season 46 of Survivor, Wackadoodles Win. I am joined tonight by two of my favorite co-hosts, Josh Wessler and Ryan Stacy. How are you guys doing tonight?
Well, I was doing pretty good until the end of the episode. I'm salty. This was such a strong episode until it wasn't. Like, the final two scenes of the episode just ruined it for me. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, quite a bummer. And for multiple reasons for me. I'll wait until spoilers to get into that.
Yeah, go watch the episode. Let's get into spoilers.
Yeah, we can just jump right into it.
Oh, I have thoughts. 3, 2,
Go
1.
listen.
Spoilers. All right. So we have a tribe that loses tribal council, but they don't have to vote anybody out because somebody else gets medically evacuated from a different tribe. We saw this back in season 44 with Matthew, and I was pissed off then, and I am pissed off now. It does not matter if the other tribe loses everyone in a horrible gasoline fight accident. No, if you lose the immunity challenge, you vote someone out. If the person who had been medically evacuated had been on the losing tribe, that's fine. That counts. It's good enough for me. But they lost. They should be punished. Period. So I'm very annoyed that the Yanni tribe did not have to vote anybody out.
Yeah, I am also very annoyed for that exact same reason. Plus, I lost my survivor pool today with one giant asterisk next to it because
no
this is ridiculous.
But through no fault of your own. But no asterisks.
Through no fault of my own, but
you lost.
It shouldn't have happened.
You lost.
You should have picked somebody with more durable nerves.
Apparently.
You should have picked, someone more durable nerves, like Banu.
Yeah.
Hey, the man can perform miracles.
See, I was also very angry at the end of the episode, but for a completely different reason. See, unlike Ryan and maybe halfway Josh here, I'm not bothered that they let other people stay, especially because we have 26 days. They don't have any food. They don't have anything to fill the time. I understand why you need to keep a strict schedule as much as you can. That said, philosophically, I don't disagree with you, Ryan. I think I said this back in 44. I should be more mad, but I'm not. So all I can really do is follow my feelings on this and just accept that.
Have better feelings, Derek.
I can't change. I wish I could, but I can't. But I'm mad for a different reason, and we'll just get to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But on the whole, though, I'd like to say, even if the moves aren't corresponding with it, the 90-minute episodes really make me feel this is at least some kind of spiritual sequel to the Messy trilogy. Because Yanu, in and of itself, is just mess.
Yeah, we get one of the biggest meltdowns ever in Survivor. Well, the biggest one we've had in a long time. We were thinking the closest thing we could think of was Will Sims in season 30, and it was a different type of meltdown. Brandon Hansen, Caramona, different type of meltdown. This is wild.
And we're not, I want to make sure that if like Banu or anyone who knows him or just anyone in general with anxiety is listening, I'm not diagnosing anyone, but I was told in the middle of the episode, this is kind of what anxiety feels like.
Yeah. We'll get into that first scene, and I'm like, oh, man, I know how this feels. This seems familiar. We'll get into that, though. You guys ready to just jump into this episode?
Please.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot to talk about, but at the same time, there's not that much to talk about because it's just one big spiral anxiety mess.
Spiraling.
There's a lot of sizzle, not a lot of steak.
I haven't seen a spiral this crazy since Spiral, the Saw 9, the Spiral movie.
The wrong podcast. But Q does cite one of your rules.
Yeah. Be careful what you say and how you say it.
Almost verbatim.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
That's a rule I have on my horror movie podcast.
Rule 9. Careful what you say and how you say it.
How to Survive a Horror Movie, where we talk about horror movies. And that's one of the rules I have. You have to be careful what you say and how you say it. So
Applies to Survivor.
Applies to Survivor.
How to survive.
So, on Yanu, they get back to camp, and Tiffany has to explain to Banu, like, we gave her Jess the fake idol so she wouldn't play her shot in the dark and we could vote her out. And she's the one who voted for you, not any of us. And Banu's mind is just blown by all this. And he's like, oh my God, these are the 3 best Survivor players of all time.
For the first of a dozen times, Banu's like, wow, these 3, they're so advanced. They are masterminds. I don't understand how they can keep track of everything that's going on.
Banu's Mount Rushmore of Survivor players is Boston Rob, and then these 3.
Yep.
Q, Tiffany, and Kenzie. That's everybody's Mount Rushmore, Josh.
And look, when you're in kindergarten, The first graders seem like real smart big kids.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's going to be a lot of laughing on this podcast.
Your comment just caught me off guard. You hadn't made that one off air.
So Banu, he knows he's on the bottom. He knows he's next. So Banu goes to Kenzie, wants to work with her, but he won't throw out a name. And Kenzie's like, you see how that makes it hard to work with you, right? You don't have an idea of what to do. Like, give me something and I'll consider it, but like, I need something.
Oh my gosh, Kenzie's such a mastermind.
It's rough to watch. It's like you're watching someone drowning and then you throw them a life raft and then they just don't grab it. What do I do next?
No, I wanted you to come out here and swim me in yourself.
I can only do so much for you, buddy.
Yep. Hugh and Banu are going to talk next, and Hugh's like, Banu, I want you to be like the Philip to my Boston Rob. Fellas, don't say that to someone.
But we have to remember, Banu came away from this conversation thinking, wow, what a constructive conversation. So, anyone out there, because apparently I need to say it, if someone says that you're Philip and they're Boston Rob, that's not a compliment.
Or Steven to JT. We saw that last season.
That's very bad.
Yep. So this is where we get a scene with Banu in like an improv confessional where he's just spiraling. Like, this could be all a plot to get me to not play my shot in the dark. They're all out to get me. Everyone's out to get me. And it's just like all these ideas are coming to his head. It's like, oh, this is how anxiety attacks start. All these ideas and insane thoughts are popping up in your head. And like, it could be this, it could be this. And then you just get worse and worse and you spiral and spiral and spiral and spiral. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not good.
It's not good for Banu's long-term hopes.
But the crazy thing about it is you should be having these thoughts because you want to run all of these scenarios through your head because you don't know what anyone is going to do on the island. So you need to be ready. If someone has, their own best interests in any sort of conversation or strategy that comes up, you need to be thinking about those types of things. It just needs to be constructive.
Yeah,
this is not constructive.
Destructive.
I think Kenzie said it perfectly. It may have been later in the episode. It might have been now. But she summed it up perfectly. Banu is very passionate for the game, but has no idea what he's doing and is in over his head. And I think this is proof because you just summed it up perfectly. He should be having these thoughts. But if these thoughts in this game, in this moment, cause you to hard boot, that's a problem.
Yeah, he's in for a tough time.
Yeah.
Honestly, it probably would have been better for him just be put out of his misery here.
Redemption arc time. He's going to win the whole season.
Wackadoodles win.
I'd love to see it just because I have no idea how it would happen.
So we're going to cut over to Sega, but we're going to cut over 4 days ago. This is wild.
I don't think we've ever seen that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen just little quick flashbacks to a few days ago. This is a whole
segment
scene back in time.
Yeah, this is the beginning of episode 2, essentially.
And it's not like we don't have enough time. We had 2 hours last week.
Yeah, it's weird. But basically, Jem's going to end up finding the Beware advantage. And gets the same message like, hey, you can't do anything more with this until you lose the challenge. And they don't lose the challenge, so...
I thought that I'm like, wow, okay, Survivor, obviously Green is going to Tribal tonight. Otherwise, why would you show this now instead of last episode? Just didn't make sense to me.
The old double fake out.
Yeah, really.
And
then notably, she doesn't put the box back in the hole.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. I was very confused.
She put the box under some leaves and twigs off the side of a path. Why? Why would you do that?
It's a good question.
Seems a bad move.
That's a good question. I wonder if someone will find it and be like, what is this box?
This is conspicuous. This wasn't here.
That was on the Next Time on Survivor.
Did they find it?
They didn't show what they found, but it was green and they were in the trees somewhere and they're like, we found this weird thing. I don't know what words they didn't say box. They didn't specify what they found, but it was a group of 3 people.
Tim was there for sure.
I think Liz was over there. I don't know.
Can't have been
or
Liz.
maybe or Mariah.
They do look similar.
Yes. So I'm guessing that it's Jem's locked box.
See, when they first showed it, the shot from inside the tree or whatever, it looked like a human skull, and they did find one of those on, I think it was Marquesas. So
yeah, they did.
Could be another skull.
But they also showed them digging, so maybe Maybe they found her box, because I didn't even think about that.
She didn't even bury it.
That'd be hilarious. She's like, what is this box? What do we do with it? And Jim's just sitting there like, uh-oh.
I don't know. I'm sure we're going to get a clue to a key.
Maybe Jeff will tell us at the next challenge.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, we found a box.
Speaking of challenges, Hunter's really good at them because he's been building them the whole time back at home. He builds challenges for like his students to compete in. He doesn't tell anybody. That's smart.
It's incredibly intelligent. And Carson, eat your heart out. This man seems to be going a little bit harder than you.
He didn't even need a 3D printer. He's building them himself. Venus is scared of Hunter and wants him out next. I don't know how it's going to go for her now.
It is interesting that she's saying Hunter is in charge of this tribe. I don't know that Hunter is the person Venus should be keying in on right now. Maybe it's a good choice because her angle is Hunter might be the one who's most on the outs that I might be able to convince them of. So I can see that. But in terms of the way she sold it, I don't know that I believed it. As Hunter being like the biggest with the most connections. It felt weird.
Yeah, I feel like the better argument is Hunter and Tevin are at the top and they're a really tight duo. We need to take out one of them. And if, let people decide. Maybe she doesn't make the call of Hunter. Maybe she just puts those two guys up there. And it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. We can all see that they're very likable. And, it's hard to say that someone's running the tribe when you've never been to tribal council.
True. Randon, the right side of his body goes limp. And it turns out he thinks he slept badly and a nerve got like pinched or something. And he can't grip anything with his right arm. So they call in medical. They think it's a trapped nerve. They got to keep an eye on it. And that's what it's going to be. But it turns out we find out later after, in the final words. But yeah, not good. That would freak me out.
I'm sure nothing will come of it.
So immunity challenge. And what is their tribe? Nami? Nami gets off to a terrible start. Liz and Venus are not very helpful in the challenge. It looks like for sure Nami's going to lose. And then they get to the sandbag throwing part of the challenge, and Hunter just lands them all in like 6 shots, and he lands all 5 of them.
I mean, they showed like 7 shots for Hunter, and he sunk 5 of them. Either way, I think the key here is he sunk all 5, and I think the next closest was Siga with 1.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter how you cut that edit, bro dominated.
Yeah, and it was the very first toss. He one toss, one to stick, and this is after both of the other tribes have probably, thrown a dozen times each. And he just, whoop, easy.
Just destroys the challenge. So they win. And it comes down 1 versus 1, Charlie versus Q. Charlie lands it, Siga wins, and Yanu's going back to Traveler Council. I laughed so hard. I felt bad for him, but I laughed.
Another really funny thing that we're probably not going to talk about later, but when Q is being all self-deprecating, and he's like, you don't understand. Hunter didn't prepare. He rose to the moment. I should have risen to the moment. He's got to be watching the episode just like, oh, you
Hunter,
you scoundrel. I should have known.
Of course you're prepared.
I hope that makes Q feel a little better because he was quite the sad boy.
Yes, he was being a bit of a sad boy.
We'll get into that because I have thoughts. But we're doing a journey again. So Nami, they get to send 3 people. Liz is going to go for Nami. They're going to send Ben from Siga and Banu from Yanu.
What a great read.
Oh, and I was going to say, if y'all were listening to my next to be voted out on each tribe last week on Survivor, Ben and Banu were on the bottom. I had Venus on Nami, but I mean, obviously they got to pick who from their tribe went. For their tribe and probably their power structure, I think this was 100% hit rate.
Yeah, and I don't know how. I think that's pure luck. I mean, the Banu pick makes sense. The Ben pick, I think it was just luck.
Whether it's luck, whether it's good reads, doesn't matter to me. Perfect picks.
Yep. So they're going to go to a journey.
Yeah, Mystery Adventure Island, where nothing but bad things happen. Where only bad things happen.
It's really switched, I think, in the last season. Just there's a lot more consequences here than there used to be.
These mini challenges that they do are tough, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
But Yanni's going to get back to camp. And this is where Q gets all sad boy. He's like, guys, you should vote me out because I blew it.
I'm going to fall on the sword. I deserve it.
Vote me out. You guys win it.
Go on. Continue without me.
Yeah, it seems like he gets over this pretty quickly because by the time Banu gets back from the journey, that doesn't come up again. It's like, Q, chill out.
Come on. I think Tiffany talked some sense into him. Kenzie was like, oh, interesting. Maybe not the reaction that you should have to someone saying that. They might think that you actually want them to go home.
And Tiffany's just like,
Tiffany's
give
like,
me a break.
Get over it.
Yeah, thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah, I'll agree. Kenzie was very empathetic, and Tiffany's like, "Shut up,
Just shut up.
stop it, just stop.
That's
Put on your big boy pants and let's go play Survivor, you whiner."
Yeah, I think that would be my reaction to someone like Q, who's in my alliance and one of the only people who can do anything on the tribe. I'd be like, shut up and get your head in the game. If it was someone else, like who I didn't want around, I'd be like, oh, wow, you sure?
No, please don't. Stop.
Anything but that.
Just the Wonka meme.
Yeah, Wonka meme.
No, please.
So on the journey, we are told like they get to do a rock draw, and 2 people get the blue rock will get to go on and compete in the challenge. The person who gets the white rock will not get to compete and just go back to camp. Before we can do that, Bonu's gonna melt down and tell Ben and Liz everything.
Not 2 minutes after Tiffany back in the edit said he's gonna tell them everything.
He's gonna spill.
Spills everything, even stuff that isn't true, and it's just, I think, thoughts that were just running around in his own head, and that he's like convinced himself is true. Like, they called me a fool and stuff like that, and it's like, no one called you a fool unless it wasn't shown to us. I think you're just having a meltdown, man.
Yeah, I think they talked about him being emotional, like tribal. But that's the only thing that I remember, like, hearing about that.
But even the way he's told, he's like, "Can you believe that they called me emotional?"
Yeah. He's painting them as like monsters.
Proof's in the pudding, dude. Like, let's just say that if the secret ingredient was tears, we would not be short of it. I mean, good gravy, dude.
And Ben and Liz don't have to say like anything. They don't give anything away. They're just like, "Oh man, chin up, buddy."
Ben and Liz, nothing. Banu.
How's it going over there, buddy? Not good.
But Liz is going to get sent back to camp. She draws the white rock. So Banu and Ben move on to a cube puzzle challenge, which they both fail. They both lose their votes.
Rip.
So that means they can't play Shot in the Dark either. Banu's in trouble, everybody.
Yeah, I couldn't, it was hard to tell because he said a lot of things. But somewhere in there, I thought I heard Banu say that he wanted the white rock because he didn't want to lose his vote so he could play Shot in the Dark or like have some sort of control. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if that's exactly what you should want, buddy, but
I would want the advantage because that's better. Shot in the Dark is 1 in 6. So.
Yeah. Advantage.
Who
Could be
knows?
an extra vote, could be an idol, who knows?
Hopefully not. Knowledge is power. So Ben and Liz get back to camp and like, Banu, guys, holy crap. But Ben, he does something clever. He claims he will not know if he lost his vote or gets an advantage until they go to tribal council, which I do like because it just leaves a little bit of mystery and fear up in the air. Like, oh, maybe we can't vote for Ben because who knows what he might get. So I do kind of like this lie for Ben.
Yeah, this is a plausible deniability, kind of at its best. Like, hey, I don't know. I did what I could do. And we have seen stuff like this before. Sometimes what was it in where they would have to go to tree mail right before tribal to find out if they had won something?
God, this is a season 41 maybe.
It was a new era season.
I think it was 41.
Yeah. Because I remember, who was it? Someone got knowledge is power.
It was Liana, I think.
Yeah, yep. So whatever season that was.
So we've seen something like this before. This was a great play. Yep. I loved this.
Good play for Ben. So Banu's going to go back to camp and he's going to tell everyone he got the white rock, so nothing. But then he tells Q the truth, that he doesn't have his vote. Q wants to save Banu. And I think this is a good call for Q, because at this point, you have to assume you're going to get Matt Singed. The 2 of you at best are walking away from this tribe. So you got to be in the top 2. And for Q, if he can, Banu doesn't really matter, but if he can convince Tiffany to go along with it and take out Kenzie, then I think Q is safe either way. I don't think Banu or Tiffany will turn on Q. They'll turn on each other. So I think this is, if Q can pull this off, it's a good move for Q. So he's got to get Tiffany on board. And Tiffany's considering it, but we don't ever learn what she would have done, and we'll never know. But yeah, Tiffany should not go along with this plan. Tiffany should stick with Kenzie and take out Banu. It's the sure thing. And then Tiffany's in the best spot going into the next episode.
I don't know if I agree with that. I get your reasoning and it makes sense. And if you do end up getting Matt Singed, perfect scenario, great. Like, you and Tiffany can just go the distance. But I don't think it's good to plan for that. I think it's better to plan for something better to happen for you to win some challenges and make it to the merge, make it to a swap, potentially.
Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst.
The other side of this is you just can't trust Banu. So if you do end up winning challenges and Banu sticks around and there is a swap or you make it to the merge, I would not be able to trust him with anything to be able to hold any sort of vote together, not give out information, any of that stuff. Yeah, you would probably be able to beat him later down the line or have him be your Phillip to your Boston Rob if you want to think about it that way. But I don't think you're going to make it that far because he's just going to tank your game.
I'm going to make an analogy to parenting because I do that now. Banu really comes across to me as a well-intentioned toddler when it comes to survivor mechanics. Like, my son, he's 2. He insists that he must bring his half-empty milk cup to the sink. And he needs to do it himself. I can't help. He can do it. He can be trusted. I love him so much. I do trust him, but he doesn't always get there. So I see where Josh is coming from. I see where Ryan is coming from. I don't know how to split the difference. So all I can trust is that Q has his best interests at heart and say that this is a good move for Q, but it's kind of like I'm abstaining. You have to make that read. If you feel like you can trust Banu to get to the sink with the milk, great. If not, then you have to cut Banu and just hope that Kenzie, Tiffany, and Q, as a threesome, you can persevere and not lose again and have 3 competent players moving into a swap or a merge.
Doesn't matter. Medical's going to show up on Nami Beach. They're scared that he might have a bulging disc which in his neck, which is much bigger deal. So just because of that, they're concerned they pull him from the game. It turns out it was the original thought. But just to be safe, they did pull him to get an MRI. So Randon gets pulled from the game. Then Jeff goes over to Yanu and it's like, hey guys, no tribal council, which is absolute BS. They should have had to go to tribal council.
Ridiculous.
Walks up in the middle of Banu, now going to Tiffany saying, I don't have a plan. Help me.
And
Save
Tiffany's
me.
saying, I'm considering it.
But she has to say that,
She has to say that.
She
We don't
has
know
to
for
say
sure.
that.
I know.
And she doesn't know, at this point, she doesn't know that Banu has lost his vote.
Yeah, I have a tough time, reading her because I feel like we haven't gotten a ton from like her just like strategy wise, like as far as like lying goes, like straight to someone like Banu. I feel like it's been a lot more like open conversations with Kenzie and Q, and so I have no idea how to judge.
She did walk Jess to the rock wall and be like, did you check there? Did you check that crevice for
That
an
sounds
idol?
like honesty. so I don't know, she was kind of convincing to me.
But Derek's buttons got pressed because Bonnie's going to say it's a miracle. God answered his prayers. And he is safe. He's not going to go home. So I'm guessing God must have pinched Randon's nerve personally.
I know this is not what Banu meant, but I have to say it's sickening that someone can hear that someone got medically evacuated for the possibility of a bulging disc or whatever Jeff told them. I don't know how much he said, but someone gets medically evacuated and you say, God answered my prayer. No, I'm sorry. Like
That's messed up.
And I know Banu didn't mean it that way, but it is messed up and it pressed a button. It did. I don't even know what else to say about it because I don't hold any vitriol or and I don't hold religious people in lesser light or anything like that or like whatever faith, but that's messed up. He literally got pulled from the game. This is actually one of like it's so little. I think I'm angry because he didn't see the problem with that. I think that's why I'm mad, is because he didn't have anyone there to tell him like that's pretty messed up. Don't say that.
Yeah, and you could say, the way you could say before, it's like, hey, yeah, it's sad that he goes, saved me. Like, if you present it that way, it's not nearly as bad.
Well, you can be happy with the situation because you lived.
Yep.
Like, you're going an extra, few days at least.
But calling it a miracle is messed up, man.
Well, especially like, okay, like let's say him getting randomly selected to go to Mystery Adventure Island. My prayers have been answered. He draws a blue rock to possibly get an advantage in the game. His prayer has been answered. God has given him an opportunity, and he failed in that opportunity. And then to say that God gave him a third chance by pinching Randon's nerve and making it act like a bulging neck disc. Are you kidding me with that? So listeners, I apologize. I don't usually get this frustrated, but I feel that I needed to vocalize how much this bothered me. So there, it's off my chest now.
If there is a God, I hope he does not have a vested interest in Survivor, because that'd be effing pathetic.
I do. He has good taste in reality TV.
God watches Survivor.
But yeah, that's the end of the episode. Tribal Council's canceled. Randon's out of the game. No vote.
And I did ask for a poll on Twitter. Usually I ask if the right person went home, but instead I switched it up tonight, since there is a little dissension here on whether or not there should be a tribal council or not. So I asked, should there have been a tribal council still, even though someone got medically evacuated? And it was actually pretty split. 57% of people said yes, there should be.
My people.
That's pretty close to how the sentiment is on this podcast. Because Ryan's a hard no. Josh, are you a hard? You're a hard yes. There should have been a tribal council.
I'm a basically hard yes, as long as that medevac doesn't come from that tribe. The tribe. If someone was medically evacuated on the tribe that lost,
someone has to go home from the losing tribe.
And then for some reason, I can't explain it, this just doesn't bother me. I don't know why.
And that's fine.
I think you guys are probably right. You probably are.
Twitter thinks we are.
Hey, I'll take it.
Hey, agreeing with Twitter isn't a good thing.
So this is kind of a weird circumstance. But yeah, let's talk about who should have gone home first before we do anything else. Because normally we're like, oh, was this the right move? What would have been the right move? Personally, I think Banu would have been the right move before Tiffany and Kenzie, and that's all that matters. There's only 3 votes.
And Banu doesn't have a vote, so he doesn't have a say in the situation. If Banu goes with his vote, this would be a more difficult consideration. At that point, I'd have to give it more thought.
In that case, I would say Q, because it's, don't tie it. Q, go with Kenzie and Tiffany if you can't convince Tiffany.
So you're saying either way.
It should be Banu.
Interesting, but I say it should probably be Banu.
I'm saying that definitely should be Banu, and I think all 3 of them should go for Banu.
All right, let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Derek, start us off. Who was your best player of the episode? Kind of tricky one tonight, I thought.
It wasn't that tricky for me because I've done this in the past. I think I did this for Jonathan in 43. I'm giving it to Hunter for absolutely beast moding at the end of the challenge to bring Nami to victory, and then he was a part of the group Nami decision to send Ben and Banu to Mystery Adventure Island, which was 100% hit rate, however they decided on that. I know that you can probably make an argument for Ben. You can make an argument even for Liz at this point, but they would not be in that position if not for Hunter beast moding the challenge. And given how wacky of an episode it is, I decided to really settle on the definite. So I gave it to Hunter.
Jonathan was 42, by the way.
Sorry, Jonathan was 42. You're right. Yep.
Josh?
I'm also giving it to Hunter for basically everything that Derek said, but also his perception is completely different than who he actually is right now. And that is intentional from him. He's not telling people that he had a full ride to medical school and then decided to be a teacher instead. He didn't tell people that he's a super fan. He hasn't told people that he builds these puzzles for his kids or anything like that, and that he could be a challenge beast going forward. He's just Hunter. He's just enjoying being on the island, building beds for people, going fishing. Yeah, people see him as a provider, but that archetype on Survivor is so looked down upon as not being a threat that it's going to keep him around for a while. Venus seems to be the only person who cares about Hunter. So he could find himself, carried along into the post-merge, and then maybe he just switches it on, and that Survivor super fan gets a little bit more strategic, and he starts to build a resume and wins 50 challenges.
Yeah, Hunter, I'm going to give him credit for practicing ahead of time with building these challenges, keeping it to himself, and then beast moding and saving his tribe single-handedly. It didn't matter. That isn't his fault. That's production's fault. So yeah, Hunter's my best player. Josh, how about worst player?
I really don't want to give it to Banu because he did end up surviving. No, it's Banu.
Yeah, it's 100% Banu. For that level of paranoia, the meltdown, and failing to get an advantage at the challenge.
Well, and also just lack of any sort of strategic moment. Kenzie's begging him to just bring something to the table, and he won't.
He can't.
It truly is beautiful that Jelinski went home before Jess and before Banu, because Banu is also batting an absolute 0 on strategic game, and he seems nice enough, but I think he's pretty low on the social game too. Like, he's a nice guy, but wow, that'd be a lot.
Honestly, if we're looking at tribe average, what is the least capable tribe? Which would be a really fun podcast. Overall, what is the least capable survivor tribe? This one is down there.
They are down there, man.
There's not much going on here. Tiffany and Kenzie each have something, but I don't have much else going on. All right, let's get into who is going next. I'll start us over on the Nami tribe. I think it's very clearly Venus. Her closest ally just went home. She's got nothing in her pocket. Unless something drastic happens, I think Venus is screwed.
I have Venus as well.
I also have Venus. And if we didn't say it, Rendon went home with the advantage in his pocket.
With the beware advantage in his pocket. Derek, take us over to Siga, Green Tribe. Who's going next?
I switched it up. I think that Ben created enough of a cloud to shift what Charlie's Angels would have targeted as him to Tim. If they do end up going to tribal, I feel like Tim would go before Ben just because of that air of mystery. So I have Tim.
Yeah, I had Tim last week. I'm sticking with him.
I also switched mine to Tim for the same reason.
All right.
The other thing I had was with Gem having that beware advantage, maybe that gets the target off of her. I don't know. It's a little unclear what's going to happen with that, so I just stuck with Tim. Josh, take us over to Yanu. Who's going next on Yanu?
It's Banu.
Yeah.
I think it would have been him tonight. I know they like to try to deceive us in the edit, but this seemed pretty obvious, I guess, to me. So sticking with him.
Yep, same.
Yeah, I've got Banu.
What a character.
Are we 3 for 3 on that? Did we all agree?
Yeah,
we
all
agreed
on
on
the
every
same
single
page.
one.
So,
Wow.
Look at us.
Look
Look
at
at
us.
that.
Going to be some very interesting danger zone rankings for next week.
All right, let's get into who can't win. Again, we're in the pre-merge, so we only pick one person. I switched mine up. I had Liz last time. I'm going to switch over to Banu because I know Liz is off-putting to us, and who's the one? Was it Tevin who was a little off-put by her?
Yeah.
It seems like everybody else likes her just fine. She was good on the journey with Ben and Banu, so I'm going to switch mine to Banu at this point because he's such a mess.
This is an odd one. I'm open to you guys changing my mind because I'm still trying to reform my feelings on how this game is played. Because to me, if I have stuck a fork in someone, that's kind of the worst thing that I can do to someone in this game. And I've already done that to Q and Banu. So I didn't even consider them. And so now it's just who can't win this game. And so I kept it as Liz. But I would switch them. I would put Banu now in the who cannot win.
Okay.
And Liz, I still have a fork stuck in her, but I don't think she's going to make it that far. So that's me sticking a fork in Liz then.
All right, well then I guess the question is final 3 between those people, who loses?
Well, and that's exactly it, is Banu.
Okay.
Like, Banu is now, like, my greatest, like my biggest loser, but it's weird because I already stuck a fork in him, and I had Liz on the who can't
Well,
win.
But you're not changing that, though. Like, the fork is still stuck in him.
Yeah,
Yes.
it can be, Banu cannot win this game, but Q and Liz both have forks stuck in them because they're not going to win this game. Yeah, so the question is, it's the fork sticking to me, I always thought was like, they're not going to win.
Yeah.
But this is the person who cannot win. Like, will not, cannot. And you could always unstick the fork if you really felt like it.
And
I'm not going to let him off that easy.
I'm not going to unstick the fork. I'm just going to take Liz off of who can't win, and I'm just going to put Banu on there. And Banu is now on the I stuck a fork in you before. I've got written proof of this, and congratulations, now you can't. Like, first you wouldn't, now you can't.
There we go.
And that's kind of where it's at right now, at this place in time. So Banu is my new who cannot win, and I've stuck a fork in Q and Banu.
Okay. Josh, who can't win?
Oddly enough, I'm sticking with Liz.
Okay.
Banu's probably the right call here, but I'm sticking with Liz. Because if by some miracle Banu makes it to the end, I don't know how he would have done that. So something crazy must have happened that he turned his game around and he would beat Liz in the end.
You know who else made it to the end?
Philip.
All right. Last thing we have to do is the survivor pool. Let's check in. How did everybody do now? Derek, who did you have?
Well, I had Liz, which I feel really good about. I'm glad I got her out of the way early.
Yeah, I had Maria. It was really safe. I'm still here. I made a really nice safe pick. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Josh, how'd you do?
Oh yeah, I'm still going. Yeah, because Banu went home, right? No, I had Randon, and now I keep a nice little tally of all of the history of our picks on here, and I put a nice little asterisk next to his name where I lost.
No asterisk.
No asterisks.
I think we need to tell the good listeners about the conversation that we had in the last commercial break leading up to...
Yeah, what we thought was the commercial break to lead us to tribal council. We're like, oh man, not enough time probably for Randy to get evacuated. And maybe he's going to be... Maybe it'll happen first thing in the next episode. Come back from commercial break.
And I was like... Wrong beach.
We're on beach.
Wrong beach.
Josh
Wrong
was
beach.
Like, no, and swears and storms off and comes back.
Yeah, I physically got up and walked away for a second.
He was so mad. It was hilarious.
Well, because we were under that assumption of, there's not enough time because, logically, why wouldn't they go to tribal council? That wouldn't make sense. So you can't fit both tribal and a medevac in to this last 15 minutes.
And they didn't.
And they did not.
They did not.
Wrong beach. Wrong beach. I hope I have that memory forever. Just Nami, wrong beach.
Nami,
wrong beach.
So Josh.
Yeah.
Guess what? How's it feel to be Mr. Irrelevant?
Oh, that's great. I almost want to play along to see what would have happened.
Hey, you can
but
do,
I won't.
You can do what you want,
No.
it doesn't get aired though, unfortunately.
It's Derek.
Yep.
So you have gone through 2 people now.
Yes.
Who were they?
Q and Liz.
Yeah, he can be our banker.
Yeah, he's the banker.
Yeah, thanks.
So Q and Liz are done. Who is your next pick?
I had a hard time. It feels like we're in a weird spot in the game for my strategy, but I landed on Charlie. I just want someone safe for right now, and I think Charlie is about as safe as I can get without an idol, and I want to save those players if I can.
Okay. I like to pick people who have advantages. So far, I picked Tiffany and Maria. They had an idol and an extra vote, respectively. There's somebody else with an extra vote in the game. That's Tevin. I'm picking Tevin.
Just hoping I make a mistake.
Hoping you make a mistake. Maybe you'll get a pinched nerve and medically evacuated or something.
It could happen.
Could happen.
Congratulations, guys. I'm so happy for you. I hope you both lose.
I love Salty Josh.
Double boot.
Salty Josh is one of my favorite Joshes. I don't know if you know that.
Josh won the Derek Award for this season in Survivor Pool. This is amazing.
No, I made it 2 votes.
Well, hold on. How far did I make it with NECA? Yeah,
2 votes.
2 votes. Yeah, same as me here.
Yeah.
How far did you make it with Helen, though?
The first one.
No votes.
Yeah.
No votes.
All right. That is the episode, everybody. Almost amazing. So close to being an amazing episode.
Very messy.
Very messy. It's fun, though. The only good news is Banu is still around to just cause chaos, and I'm here for that.
Mm-hmm.
Social media.
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Castaway Pod. Facebook and YouTube is where we're posting all of our videos, which is Castaway Consultants. TikTok is also Castaway Consultants if you want to check out any of those clips there. And then I heard Spotify might be back.
Yeah, the questions came back either day of or day after. Ryan tipped me off to it and said, hey, the questions are back. So I got them posted for last week's episode, and I'll post them again for this week, assuming that they don't disappear on me. So,
yeah, I got one on the How to Survive a Horror Movie podcast. I'm like, are the questions back? And they were back.
Come interact.
So maybe they were just updating something. Who knows? All right, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.